Hey, hey, and welcome to the Music News Power Hour. We're going to be getting started here in just a few moments with some breaking headlines for today. Go ahead and ping your friends into the room. Feel free to raise your hand as we're reading to join the discussion, and make sure that you follow your moderators and the Music Industry City Club by tapping the green house at the top of the room to follow the club. We're going to get started here in just a few seconds with our countdown and today's headlines. Wow, it's a hot day here on the East Coast. I'm in New York City. Angela, how is your weather? Are you as steamy hot as we are in New York?
I'd say it's about 75 degrees here in the UK. I'm on the East Coast as well, but I'm told that that Bristol on the other coast is also equally as hot. So by all means, a scorcher.
Steamy, steamy, steamy. But you know what? That's a good thing. That means that things are moving and it is summertime. All kinds of good things are happening this summer. All right, here we go. We are in our countdown for today's Music News Power Hour.
And welcome to the Music News Power Hour on the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. I'm Peter Schwing, and please join me in welcoming my co-host Eli Window and our UK correspondent Angela Randall.
Hi, Peter. How you doing today? And Angela, it's good to see everybody. I can't wait to get into today's headlines. What's new, Angela?
I'm stoked. Yeah, we were just talking about how warm it is here in the UK. I've had the builders in installing a new boiler, so hopefully I'm going to be even warmer once they get the heat going.
Right on, right on. Let's pass it back over to Peter.
All right, today we are going to talk about NYC is hosting a mega concert to celebrate reopening. Kid Rock filmed saying some really bad things. Coachella sold out. Hipgnosis music catalog is now worth over $2 billion. European songwriters unhappy with copyright directive delays. And as always, our daily Spotify update. But first, let's take a look at this day in history with Eli Window.
All right, let's get started. In memory today from 2020, former Pointer Sister singer Bonnie Pointer died on this day from a cardiac arrest aged 69. In memory. Moving on, birthdays today. Born this day in 1940, American singer and actress Nancy Sinatra, who scored the 1966 UK and US #1 single, These Boots Are Made for Walking. And that's just what they'll do, apparently. On this date, 1953, born Bonnie Tyler, Welsh singer who scored the US #1 single, Total Eclipse of the Heart. Born this day, June 8th, 1962, Nick Rhodes, keyboardist of Duran Duran. And born this day, June 8th, 1965, Rob Pilatus, singer from German R&B duo Milli Vanilli. On this day, 1977, American rapper, singer, songwriter, record producer, fashion designer, and entrepreneur Kanye West was born also. Happy birthday. Moving on, this day in history. 1970, June 8th, Deep Purple had their van and equipment impounded by East German police while on a European tour after mistakenly driving too close to the border there. On this date, 1989, at a Greenpeace Rainbow Warriors press conference, vegetarian Chrissy Hynde claimed that she once firebombed a McDonald's restaurant. The following day, McDonald's in Milton Keynes, England, was firebombed, and Hynde was threatened with legal action. On this date, 1988, Oasis guitarist Noel Gallagher, Paul Weller, and Martin Carr from the Boo Radleys were all involved in a fight at Dingwalls, Camden in London. And on this date, 2016, two U.S. musicians were suing Ed Sheeran for $20 million over his single, Photograph. Martin Harrington and American Thomas Leonard claimed it had a similar structure to their song, Amazing. Harrington and Leonard said they penned Amazing in 2009, and in documents that include musical note comparison and chord breakdowns of their two songs, the pair claimed that the chorus of Photograph Sheeran's song shares 39 identical notes with their track, which is crazy because there are only 12 notes, right? That's it for this day in history. Back over to you, Peter.
All right. Yeah, I mean that Ed Sheeran case, they settled out of court, and the plaintiffs, they got some songwriting credit, and it's also to note that their lawyer was the same lawyer that went up against the Marvin Gaye estate for the Marvin Gaye estate. So, yeah.
Oh, in the Blurred Lines case?
Yep. So he's good at what he does. We can say that much.
Who are you going to call?
Right. All right, this is where we comb the internet for music industry news that we believe should be discussed. We'll start the readings in just a moment, but first I also like to thank everybody who's viewing the show in AltSpace VR or on our video feeds. To set the stage for the roundtable discussion, we begin by reading key sections of media pieces. If you'd like to provide commentary on one of today's topics, simply raise your hand during the reading. To stay on top of this and other programming, follow the Music Industry City group by tapping on the green house at the top, and you may register for free at musicindustrycity.com to attain access to exclusive content. Remember to follow all of our green button co-hosts and commentators as they take the stage, and now let's get to it. All right, and this first piece is from Polestar, and you can keep up with all of the headlines discussed in today's episodes and throughout the week by going to musicindustrycity.com and clicking on the show notes graphic. That's once again musicindustrycity.com. All right, and big news for New York City. Bill de Blasio, Clive Davis, planning Central Park mega concert to celebrate New York City's reopenings. Manhattan Central Park has hosted several of the most iconic concerts ever, not just for New York City, but globally. This August, it will likely log another such historic performance, according to the New York Times. According to a report published Monday, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio and seminal music business figure Clive Davis are working in collaboration to produce a, quote, mega concert in Central Park, tentatively booked for August 21st. Details about talent remain scant, but Davis told the Times he's envisioning a show with 8 stars performing over a 3-hour program for a physical audience of 60,000 assembled on Central Park's Great Lawn and viewers around the world. The concert will be part of Homecoming Week, the week of programming de Blasio and New York City officials are currently planning to celebrate the post-pandemic return of the Big Apple, which fully reopened in May. Quote, this concert is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, he told the Times. It's going to be an amazing lineup. The whole week is going to be like nothing you've ever seen before in New York City. I can't think of a better place than the Great Lawn of Central Park to be the place where you say that New York is reopening, says Clive Davis. All right, Live Nation will produce the free concert, while sponsorship ads and a broadcast partner are currently in the works, according to the report. Attendees will be partitioned into vaccinated and non-vaccinated sections, per the Times, with 70% of capacity going to the former group. More than half of New York City's population of 8.3 million, that's 52.3%, has received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, and 44.9% of the city's population is fully vaccinated, according to city data. On June 6th, New York City's 7-day average of new COVID-19 cases was 244, a 58% decrease from just 2 weeks earlier, and the city's lowest such figure since mid-March of 2020. All right, so this this is really interesting. I think it's going to be a party. I think it's 60,000 people. There are going to be a lot more people trying to figure out how to get into that. And keeping along with some other news here in Variety. This one is Drake and Live Nation to open History, a new concert venue in Toronto. Drake and Live Nation will open a new live entertainment venue in the superstar rapper's hometown, Toronto, later this year, the company announced on Tuesday. Quote, some of my most memorable shows were playing in smaller rooms like History, Drake said in a statement, and continued, I wanted to take those memories and what I learned to create an incredible experience for both of the artists and the fans. According to the announcement, the 2,500 capacity venue will offer artists a versatile and intimate destination to perform and connect with fans in Toronto, and plans to host 200 concerts and events annually. So Michael Rapino, President and CEO of Live Nation Entertainment, says, "We saw an opportunity to bring Toronto a great new venue, and we have so much gratitude and respect for Drake teaming up with us to bring it to life in the best way possible." History has been in development for over 3 years, with construction scheduled to be complete later this summer. The venue is situated in the east end of the city, in the heart of the Beaches neighborhood at 1663 Queen Street East. The venue includes convertible general admission area and reserved seating configurations for all types of events, from concerts, live entertainment, and galas to community programs and events. Concerts and events, along with additional details and career opportunities, will begin to be announced throughout the coming weeks and months. And there is a website, historytoronto.com. Moving over to Coachella, as they announced. Coachella 2022 is an instantaneous sellout. All right, so the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival fan base has again proven itself a faithful one, with the belief that the 2022 edition will have been worth the 3-year wait, manifesting in passes for both weekends selling out within hours of going on sale. They said passes no longer available 315 days till we meet, the festival posted on its Instagram account over the weekend. Tickets have actually said to have sold out by 2:16 p.m. Friday after having gone on sale at 10 a.m. Of course, Coachella 22, slated for April 15th through 17th and 22-24, had a head start in sales. A majority of pass holders for the 2020 schedule have held onto their tickets in lieu of getting refunds, as the event was repeatedly pushed back to a series of projected time frames that came and went last fall and again for this year. Golden Voice has set up waiting lists for both weekends on the festival site. A rep confirms that the list is set up with the expectation that some of those who bought passes for 2020 but can't make these dates will be turning in their tickets, making more available in small amounts as opposed to any further release of additional passes in massive amounts. Pages have also been set up on the site for any ticket holders who wish to turn their passes in, or those hoping to exchange weekend 1 for weekend 2 or vice versa. As it has been typical for the fest in recent years, no artists were announced prior to the instantaneous sellout, and it is not known which, if any, of the acts booked for 2020 who were to have included headliners Frank Ocean, Travis Scott, and Rage Against the Machine will be on deck 10 months from now. The Stagecoach Music Festival, which always follows the second weekend of Coachella by a week, has been announced for April 29th through May 1st, 2022, also with the 3-year gap between gatherings. Tickets have not gone on sale yet for that. Continuing with some live music. This is in Billboard. Kid Rock filmed using a homophobic slur on stage. Kid Rock was caught on camera over the weekend using a homophobic slur on stage at a Tennessee bar. In a video published Monday by TMZ, Rock is calling out crowd members filling himself at Lipsitz Bar and Grill in Smithville, Tennessee, when he yells a whole bunch of stuff I'm not going to repeat. He also sings in the video, "You can post this blank right here," while grabbing his crotch and looking right at his camera. Rock also made headlines last month when his Nashville bar hosted Morgan Wallen for his first performance since being caught on camera, saying the N-word back in February. Rock's Big Tonky Tonk Rock and Roll Steakhouse was also in the national news in March 2020 for being one of the last bars to comply with Nashville orders to close its doors due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Billboard has reached out to Rock's rep for comment on the new video and hasn't heard back at this time. Back in November 2019, Rock was removed from the stage of a honky-tonk bar in Nashville when he went on an explicit tirade against Oprah Winfrey. And in 2018, the rocker was booted from the Nashville Christmas Parade lineup following profane remarks he said he made about then View host Joy Behar during an appearance on Fox and Friends. Sometimes somebody needs to press the internal mute button. Moving on to musical chairs, Snoop Dogg joins Def Jam as executive creator and strategic consultant. This is from Music Business Worldwide. And again, you can check out all the headlines at musicindustrycity.com by clicking on the show notes graphic. Is joining Def Jam as an executive creator and strategic consultant with an immediate focus on A&R and creative development. Snoop Dogg's new role at the label will see him act as a senior strategic advisor. He'll be based in Los Angeles and reports to Universal's chairman and CEO, Sir Lucian Grange, and Def Jam interim chairman and CEO, Jeffrey Harlston. In a video announcing the news, Snoop Dogg says that his work with Def Jam will result in music videos, TV shows, content, video games, and, quote, hit records. He added, I'll be going to the catalog, revitalizing that, bringing back life stories on some of these great artists. I'll also be bringing some new talent to the table, new producers, new artists. With nearly 3 decades experience in the music business, Snoop Dogg has released 19 studio albums, sold over 30 million albums worldwide, and received 20 Grammy nods. He's also made several investments, food, lifestyle, and the cannabis industry. And so it goes on even more. It's really interesting. He seems, he's really excited. It's like he said later in the video announcement, he goes, quote, you may wonder why late in my career I'd want to work at Def Jam Records. Let me tell you why. As a kid, as a young rapper, Def Jam Records was the holy grail of hip hop. So good for him. This will be interesting to see what they start bringing out to the catalog. The artists and the life stories. So this will be really interesting. All right. And Hipgnosis. I mean, again, it seems like another week can't go by without Hipgnosis and either acquiring something or some big news. Again, this is also from Music Business Worldwide. Hipgnosis Songs Fund now owns a music catalog worth over $2.2 billion. Hipgnosis is the owner of a catalog that's been independently valued at US $2.21 billion. The UK-listed company revealed today in a financial update. That catalog, valued at the end of March 2021, contains 64,555 songs across 138 catalogs, according to a preliminary annual financial filing. The $2.21 billion valuation said Hipgnosis reflected a multiple of 17.96 times historical annual net publisher share income. The valuation is over 200 million larger than the approximate 2 billion Hipgnosis cumulatively spent on the catalog following the firm's IPO on the London Stock Exchange in 2018. And so it goes on to a lot more details of all these multiples. I mean, I don't want to bore with numbers. If you want to see what more they were talking about here, but it is really interesting to say that in the 12 months to end March 2021, it acquired 84 catalogs for $1.06 billion, an average per deal price of $12.6 million. And those were like Neil Young, Lindsey Buckingham, Chrissy Hynde, Shakira, and many, many more. So this is really interesting how they've been staking this, and now that's they can probably carry over some leverage. I know, Angela, you sent this article over to me. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, hey everybody. I've been keeping an eye on this obviously for quite some time now because we're just trying to figure out what the master plan is. I mean, obviously we can see that they're acquiring these catalogs because the artists who own them are trying to sort of reap the benefits and get the highest value possible for their catalogs, rather than collecting them a nickel and a dime at a time over many years. But it's interesting to see how quickly they're turning over and how quickly they're building upon that, as you say, Peter, to add leverage to their case for maybe what they're trying to do going forward. It's just a matter of watch this space, and if anybody has some insight, we'd certainly love to hear it.
Right on. All right, and with that, let's check in with Eli.
Excellent, excellent. Don't forget that if you have any comments about this article that we just read or any of the ones that we are reading today, you can raise your hand to join in the discussion. We'll bring you up to the stage, and we would love to hear if you have any insight on these articles that you can share with us here in the room or in chat on stream. You can tap the greenhouse at the top of the room to join the club on Clubhouse Music Industry City and get more updates. You can also follow all of your moderators by tapping on our pictures. Your moderators are the speakers on stage with the green moderator icon. Follow your moderators and join the club here on Clubhouse to learn more about Music Industry City, and be sure to register for free on musicindustrycity.com, where you can get more updates for content both on and off of Clubhouse. Now let's take a look at your weather. We've actually been hearing from huge sections of our listening audience that they have weather-related complaints. They can't stand the rain. And with that weather update, let's throw it over. Angela is our UK correspondent. Angela Randall, over to you.
Thanks for that, Eli. Yeah, check outside your window. It might be raining men. Oh, did I ruin tomorrow's joke? Apologies. Anyway, let's take it over to digitalmusicnews.com for this piece. European songwriters criticize copyright directive implementation delays. Quote, only a handful of EU member states have transposed the directive. Some 26 months after the European Council gave final approval to the European Union's controversial, much debated copyright directive, the legal act's implementation deadline has arrived. However, European songwriters are now criticizing the slow pace at which certain EU member states are beginning to adopt the measure. Lawmakers introduced the European Union's Directive on Copyright in the digital single market in June of 2018, and the legislation, despite being the target of ample criticism from tech giants, including Google and Facebook, was approved by the European Parliament in March of 2019. The aforementioned final approval of the directive then arrived in April of the same year. But instead of rolling out a universal EU-wide framework for the copyright directive, which will, among other things, place the legal liability of unlicensed media usage on the shoulders of tech and content platforms, lawmakers afforded European Union member states themselves 2 years until today's deadline to create their own systems for implementing the measure. Consequently, each of the European Union's 27 nations has taken a decidedly different approach to passing legislation in support of the copyright directive. And as additionally noted, European songwriters have formally expressed frustration with multiple countries' headway, or lack thereof, now that the implementation deadline has arrived. To be sure, the authors group, which represents hundreds of thousands of European songwriters and composers, as well as authors, screenwriters, and others, said in a release today that it deeply regrets the overall implementation progress. The Writers' Representation Group has also pushed states which do not comply with the directive to engage urgently in a faithful and prompt effort to do so. And it goes on a bit more about the consequences of the deadline approaching and nothing being put into place. But they urge that, lastly, the message urges European Union nations to engage urgently in an ambitious transposition, besides encouraging the European Commission, which in late April levied firmly worded accusations at Apple, to monitor closely the situation and launch infringing procedures where necessary. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys in the States how annoying it can be when you've got all different rules for quite close connected entities. And with the European Union, you could easily be an artist that's based in Switzerland, but be huge in Germany, or be based in France and be huge in Portugal. And with the different sort of rules from implementing when copyright infringement occurs, it's not quite even sure where you'll have to take up your case in order to make your claim known if there's some sort of issue. So this is definitely something worth watching. And I suppose the pandemic may be held accountable for why it's been slow going in the last year, but it's definitely something that impacts an industry that's already been very much sidelined by the pandemic. So more on this later as the story develops, and I'll throw it back to you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Angela. All right, so we're going to stay on the foreign European soil here, and this one is from IQ Mag, and this is Spanish developers bring COVID-safe app to market. So this is kind of interesting. The system agnostic Ticket Block app allows health details of every attendee to be checked regardless of who sold the tickets. A new ticketing service operation based in Barcelona claims to be attracting interest from some of the world's biggest live event companies thanks to its ability to include health record details of fans as part of their pass to attend shows. Barcelona-based Ticket Block says it has developed an app that makes it possible to identify everyone who attends a major event through their mobile phones. The app also allows event organizers to establish a communications channel with those attendees, as well as including identity and health certification within the ticket itself. Ticket Block has already trialed its system successfully at a Manel concert on the 21st of May in Girona, where 1,000 people gathered without social distancing after passing an antigen test. The company also says it has attracted the attention of Live Nation, the Weizsäck Center in Madrid, and opera houses in Vienna. The managing director says, our tool allows venues and event organizers to identify every single attendee, communicate with them, and certify their identity and health status. He continued, our app works as a smart wallet, so all attendees have to enter the venue with their own app, one phone, one ticket, This is how we identify the whole audience and how we are able to communicate with them anytime in real time. We also include the identity certification through a biometric analysis of the attendee ID or passport and the health status. TicketBlock can integrate an AOK Pass health certificate, a COVID-free certification project backed by the International Chamber of Commerce, International SOS, and SGS Group, into its tickets. The company said it connects with official health certificate issuers to include on the ticket itself whether the ticket holder has passed a pre-event antigen test or has had a certified vaccination. And they said the best part is we are a system agnostic. It doesn't matter who sold the tickets. You can use TicketBlock to manage the tickets and the access. Is this too much personal access, content, privacy issues? I foresee, especially in different countries, different states, this could raise some concerns.
I agree, Peter, and I think that it definitely will raise concerns in some places, and I think also in some places it will make others feel safe. I'm not sure what the ultimate outcome will be, but I'm interested to hear if anyone else has insight.
And we are going to stick. We're going to stick to live music, and we are going to stick to some more countries. And this one is Belgium Oks 75,000 cap open air festivals. With proof of vaccination or negative COVID-19 test, Belgian fans will once more be able to visit major outdoor events from August 13th. In what will be welcome news to Belgium's remaining late summer festivals, the country's federal government has announced that large-scale events of up to 75,000 people may take place from August 13th. In a press conference last Friday, Belgian Health Minister Frank Vandenbroek confirmed that mass events held in the open air, such as festivals like Pukkelpop, which is a 66,000 cap, would be permitted from that date, providing attendees can present a COVID safety ticket, proof of vaccination, or a negative COVID-19 test before entry. Or maybe they could use that app we just talked about. The federal announcement follows the publication of the Flemish reopening roadmap, the so-called Freedom Plan, which advised that large events should be able to go ahead from the end of July last month. Speaking during the federal government's press conference, suggested festival organizers could also offer their own site rapid antigen facilities. And in addition to Pukkelpop, the large events, which are now cleared to go ahead, include another mega festival dance music event, Tomorrowland, with the 70,000 cap and the Formula One Belgian Grand Prix. All right, so this is, we're starting to see different countries starting to open up. This is great to see. And as more and more vaccines are rolling out, and, it's just really enjoyable. Over on the tech side, this one is in Hypebot. It's called Beware Hackers Are Targeting Spotify and YouTube. Hackers are promoting sites pretending to represent Spotify, YouTube Premium, and other major digital players. One fake ad offers a non-existent bundle of 90 days free to both Spotify and YouTube Premium together. The hacker's goal is to steal credit cards and passwords saved in the user's browser. The attack, using a technique dubbed Flickr, was first discovered by cybersecurity firm ESET, who issued a warning on Twitter. They said Flickr is an information-stealing Trojan released on Russian-speaking hacker forums in January, when the developer began renting out the malware to the other threat actors. This is not a new problem for Spotify, which in the past has paid hackers to look for vulnerabilities in its system. So be on the lookout. They are not offering these bundles, and don't get lured in. But while we are talking about Spotify and technology and hackers, we have Apple. And Apple unveils iOS 15 with new features for FaceTime, better notifications, and there's a lot to do with audio in here. All right, so during the virtual keynote at WWDC, Apple shared the first details about iOS 15, the next major version of iOS that is going to be released later this year. There are 4 pillars with this year's release: staying connected, focusing without distraction, using intelligence, and exploring the world. All right, and they say, for many of us, our iPhones have become indispensable. Our new release of iOS 15 is packed with features that make the iOS experience adapt and complement the way you use your iPhone, whether it's staying connected with those that matter to you most, and a bunch of other marketing speak. What there's a few features here that I really want to get into. I like this. FaceTime gets a bunch of newer features. Apple is adding spatial audio to FaceTime. Now the voices are spread out depending on the position of your friends on the screen. For instance, if someone appears on the left, it'll sound like they're on the left in your ears. In other FaceTime news, iOS now detects background noise and tries to suppress it so that you can hear your friends and family members more easily. It's an optional feature, which means that you can disable it in case you're showing a concert during FaceTime call, for instance. Another FaceTime feature is portrait mode. Behind this term, Apple means that it can automatically blur the background, like in portrait mode photos. In case you want to use the FaceTime for work conversation, you can generate a FaceTime link and add it to a calendar invite. FaceTime will also work in a web browser, which means that people with an out-and-Apple device can join a FaceTime call. All these features make FaceTime more competitive with other video call services such as Zoom and Google Meet. There was another headline in the news where the headline just said, FaceTime kills Zoom. It was just basically as simple as that. So they also have another thing is FaceTime is a big focus on Apple is also introducing SharePlay. And with this feature, you can listen together to a music album. Press play in Apple Music, and the music will start for everyone on the call. The queue is shared with everyone else, which means anyone can add songs, skip to the next track, etc. SharePlay also lets you watch movies and TV shows together. Someone on the call starts a video, and it starts your friend's phone or tablet. It is also compatible with AirPlay, picture-in-picture, and everything you'd expect from videos in iOS. This isn't just compatible with videos in the Apple TV app. Apple said there will be an API to make videos compatible with SharePlay. Partners include Disney+, Hulu, HBO Max, Twitch, TikTok, and more. And so there's messages. So messages have better integration, and I won't get into that one here. They have new notifications, things like that. So this is really good here. New other smart features. Apple is going to scan your photos for text. It's called Live Text. This feature lets you highlight, copy, and paste text and photos. It could be a nice accessibility feature as well. And going down further is they have Wallet, Weather, and Maps have all seen it, are getting new updates. And the AirPods software update. And Apple is also announcing a bunch of new features for users who have AirPods. There's a new conversation mode that makes it a smart hearing aid to boost conversation volume. You also get more notifications if you activated the announce notification setting. You can tweak that setting to limit it to a certain apps and change depending on your focus mode. You can also find your AirPods with the Find My app with audio notifications even when they're in the case. And spatial audio is coming to Apple TV and Macs with the M1 chip. And as announced a few weeks ago, a spatial audio from Apple Music is launching right now. So Apple is releasing a developer beta, which initially releases today, and the public beta phase will start in July. So there's more about this, the spatial audio. I love that FaceTime has the spatialized audio, and also with the Dolby Atmos is going to be on iTunes Music, and the lossless audio. Now there's things about that, so there's restrictions that you have to pay attention to, and one is for anybody that wants to use for spatialized audio, you have to have the H1 or AirPods with the H1 or M1 chip, and also for lossless audio, you have to definitely look into what if your earbuds are going to support that, because it's limited in that sense. And with that, let's kick over to the Spotify spot.
Big green dot, it's the spot.
Eli, you there?
There we go. Sorry about that. I was having some technical issues. My microphone would not unmute through Clubhouse. Sorry about that. We are moving into the Spotify spot. The big green dot does hit the spot. As we move into this segment of our reads of headlines today, we're going to be discussing digital technology and how that applies to today's music headlines. I want to remind you as we move in that you can raise your hand to join the discussion. You can like, follow, or subscribe wherever you are streaming to join us each and every weekday from 12 to 1 Eastern right here in the Music News Power Hour. You can also tap the green house at the top of the Clubhouse room to join Music Industry City Club and get more updates. You can follow all of your moderators. These are the speakers on stage with the green moderator button to be notified when your speakers are speaking on Clubhouse. And you can also register for free on musicindustrycity.com, where you can have access to content both on and off of Clubhouse. Make sure that you do that. Ping your friends into the room. And that having been said, I think we need to move into the Spotify spot. Over to you, Peter.
All right. This it's been discussed, and this has a little bit more meat on it. It's from Music Business Worldwide. And this is the House Judiciary Committee questioned Spotify about its Discovery Mode tool. In November, Spotify unveiled the controversial new tool called Discovery Mode that lets artists and record labels identify a track that they want prioritized in listeners' personalized autoplay or radio feeds. By opting in, the artists and labels agree to being paid a lower recording rate for streams in those personalized sessions. They can opt out, and when they do, the track will continue to be played in radio and autoplay, but it won't be prioritized, and they will then get the standard recording royalty rate for those streams. That's important because when they announced this, that was one of the questions that nobody had answered at that time. So it's good to hear that. And in the blog post explaining Discovery Mode last year, Spotify called the new tool an experiment that will initially only focus on applying recommendations via Discovery Mode to radio and autoplay. The company added that it will, quote, carefully test expanding to other personalized areas of Spotify. Feature immediately drew criticism, and members of the U.S. Congress also now have some questions for Spotify. So in a letter sent to Spotify's boss, Daniel Ek, House Judiciary Committee Chairman George Nadler, and the Subcommittee of Courts, Intellectual Property, and Internet Chairman Henry C. Hank Johnson Jr. have requested more information about the Discovery Mode. In the letter, the House Judiciary members ask to answer 5 questions about Discovery Mode, including if and when the experimental feature will be turned into a permanent program, and, quote, what types of safeguards will be in place to ensure that a situation doesn't arise where the only practical way to get recommended is to accept a reduced royalty. They also ask how Spotify plans to calculate the reduced promotional royalty rate and have given Eck until June 16th to respond. And the letter starts, core copyright industries like music play an integral role in the U.S. economy, and the vitality of the industry is undermined when artists' hard work is undervalued. So they have the entire letter that is posted here in the article on Music Business Worldwide. And if you want the direct link to that article, you can go to musicindustrycity.com and click on the graphic that says show notes. And that's it. That's it for the reads today. We didn't have. It's not a lot of reads today. We're going to be wrapping up a little early because there's something came up, so I have to wrap a little bit earlier than normal. So I apologize for that. And but if anybody has some thoughts they want to chime in about any of these particular topics that we covered today, feel free to raise your hand. Or Angela, Eli, if there's anything that stuck out for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna just chime in about the Spotify spot today because I've been waiting for more to emerge on this to have a complete opinion. But yeah, it does reek of payola. I don't like the idea that that you only get sort of boosted by the literally the platform that's there to keep people engaged in it by accepting a lower value for what they're effectively saying is a higher priority or a better or something that should be recognized. If your music is great and they're going to put it in front of people to check out as something to discover, then that's merit and it should be based on merit. But being willing to sort of sell your music at a lower rate than already is an arguably low rate as it is in exchange for that extra promotion kind of sounds like asking people to play for free for exposure and that sort of thing. And it's a very slippery slope. So that's just my point of view.
Devil's advocate. If I hire a marketing company and I spend money on marketing to put it out there, while it's not direct, it's not coming out of the back end, it's an upfront payment, it still means that my net is going to be affected.
Sure. I mean, I agree with you on that sense, but bear in mind that those are different things. So the marketing company, you're paying them for the use of a service. It's not the only way by which people can access, your product. It's not like if you don't pay that marketing company, they can still go to the shop and buy your stuff. When it comes to Spotify, that's really one of the main ubiquitous sort of locations for where people discover new music. I mean, there's obviously Deezer and Apple and Tidal and a few other things, but if Spotify is where many of your users or your audience are, you're kind of stuck with that platform. And if the only way to gain discovery by these sort of extra extra placements is to, in effect, pay them to play your music or to accept less for your music to be positioned in on the end cap, if you will, of the Spotify store. If last I checked, I mean, I don't know if anything's changed. I haven't worked retail in a while, but last I checked, you don't necessarily give them a discount for putting your product on the end cap. I mean, I know there's other means that were sold in for that, but it wasn't necessarily take a lower price for it.
Well, just to play devil's advocate, also, just to think about artists playing at a festival. Oftentimes, festivals will accept general submissions from artists themselves, but will take most of their placements, most of their hires, most of their contracts for live acts from booking agents, trusted booking agents. And the artists are paying a booking agent for the use of their service, but also for that placement, that favored placement with the festival organizer, who will hold a certain number of slots for trusted booking agents clients to consider trusted booking agents clients. And so in that instance, you're almost paying the agent, or guaranteeing the agent a payment in exchange for bookend, it's rather end cap placement of that artist on the festival organizer's consideration list. And so I think that we could play devil's advocate in a lot of ways here. At the same time, we could probably also cite a lot of instances where we would say this might be unfair. I think we can look at it both ways, honestly. I can see both ways, devil's advocate and otherwise.
May I chime in, Eli?
Please. Hi, Todd.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, I as you were talking, I was thinking, okay, so Apple's going to follow suit, and the other digital streaming platforms are going to follow suit, and they're going to start offering discounts for artists who want to promote their music on their platform. And ultimately, I think it's going to come down to how well those platforms manage that system, which will then govern what kind of feedback the industry provides. If the artists feel like they're getting shafted, then there's going to be, some reconciliation to deal with. If the platforms are arguably fair in the way they structure this marketing scheme, then maybe it's something that gets integrated into the industry overall, but only time will tell.
There's so many more questions that need to be answered, and that's what this. And since when we were talking about the conversation, I'm going to read 3 of the questions that they add. And so one of the questions is, in general, how will Spotify calculate the reduced, quote, promotional royalty rate that an artist or record label will need to accept to use the Discovery Mode program? Is this calculation the same for all artists and labels? That's a great question. Another one was, how will artists and record labels be able to measure the impact of their program on their streams, including which streams are served directly from participating in the Discovery Mode program? And then one of the last ones says, what, if any, means of redress will be offered to artists to recover lost royalties in the event that they determine participation in the program has not yielded increased streams? Well, that's always the other question. It's like, if I do pay a marketing company, do pay a publicist. I'm like, I want to get into 50 trade magazines. Get me out there, and then you only get 20 placements in the media. It's like, but I paid because I wanted 50, and it's like, but and by the way, if any publicist ever promises you that, then you probably might want to look into another publicist right off the bat, because a real publicist is going to tell you, listen, there's nothing set in stone here. But that's the kind of question is, but again, that question is, this is the risk they're taking by entering into this agreement.
Yeah, and it's the grossness of the slippery slope that I don't like. I mean, even if this came from a good place where they said, hey, look, we can feature these artists because we know that not every independent artist can afford to pay a marketing team. And as a result, we want to give them an avenue that maybe their distribution or maybe their management or whoever it is can float this to them as an idea. And we're not giving it away for free and playing favorites. So we're saying, if you're willing to take a bit less for the exposure of it, we'll give you that. That might have come from a really good place, but every artist was unknown until they were known. So at the end of the day, it's saying, well, how much do you value yourself? And how much do you back yourself at the stage you currently are? And are you willing to take less to hedge your bets at potentially being able to outshine somebody who has that kind of power? So I don't know, it feels a bit gross.
Yeah, it's definitely a slippery slope. I would agree, and it's no better, no worse than other revenue stream tracks that DSPs provide, or that concert promoters provide, and again, it's all going to come back to how this is managed by the providers, and what kind of feedback the artist gives back into the industry. If there's a big movement by artists saying this is not fair and here's why, then it's going to either kill that program or cause it to evolve in a way that may be a little more fair and balanced. But you have to balance that against the power of these platforms and what they're able to do with their industry power. And it's interesting. I share the concerns for the emerging artists that this may be another style of money grab, but time will tell.
Well,
I just want to say one more thing on this matter. Sorry, Peter, is that what I was bringing up before about distribution, I've heard a lot of independent distributors, these are outside of your CD Babies and your DistroKids and your Dittos and your sort of bigger guys, that they are taking more of an active role in promotion because they're seeing the kind of returns that they can promise to their independent clients. I have a few friends and a few colleagues that have experienced quite a different return from their local and smaller and independent distributors than from the big guys. So hopefully there will become a sort of option, a hybrid between what the distributors are able to work out and what Spotify is willing to offer, that where they can meet in the middle, and it isn't going to be such a, it feels like exposure, playing for exposure to me, which I absolutely loathe. So hopefully if they can come up with an agreement in the middle, and like you say, Todd, it comes from a place of the industry speaking up for itself, which it tends to do a bit more lately, then it could be a good thing in the end.
Well,
absolutely. The industry has a voice. The emerging artists have a voice, and they need to use it when it's appropriate to do so in shaping this industry as we continue this progress into the digital music age.
And just to tie this all in as we begin to wrap up, there's two things here. Is there was that union of musicians that the .org, and they were doing justice at Spotify. So as you mentioned, there are musicians coming together, and they had some protests a couple months ago. But the other thing about taking less of a distribution, like a payout for offering other services. I mean, this goes back, Angela, you mentioned it, but this goes back to I think it was even I can't remember exactly, but like Red, part of Sony. It's like, Red Music, Red Distribution. They had marketing services that they were building in, but they said you could use our marketing services, but we're going to take that out of your royalties. So you get marketing, but we're going to take it off the back end. Again, is that different than what Spotify's offering to do?
Well, the only reason, sorry, Eli, just to answer that, Peter, the only reason that I think that's different is because when you're taking it off of royalties, what you're assuming is for them to make a sizable income from it, they would have to recoup a lot of royalties, which means they're doing their job and marketing you properly, which means they're making enough to make it worth their while to do it. And that to me reeks more of incentive rather than, pay to play or play for exposure, because in that instance they're saying we back ourselves to get you a big enough number that a percentage of it is going to be worth our time for doing it. And to me that seems like a much more reasonable prospect than saying you have to pay us outright for a service the way you would if you hired an independent agency to do it. So it feels a little less icky, only because it's similar to the movie business and the way it's been doing it for 100 years, where they say, okay, make this film and you'll make, money on the back end once it does well. And if you back yourself and you back the project, there's no reason to assume you won't earn well from it.
Well, there so many really heavy issues involved in this conversation, and truly so much history of the music industry and I think it begs the question, are we on the verge of redefining what the break-even point is in a contract? But I feel like that's almost a discussion for another room. And we are moving into the final few moments here of the Music News Power Hour. We are here through the Music Industry City Broadcast Network each weekday, Monday through Friday, 12 to 1 Eastern, and you can join the discussion by raising your hand, or you can join us on stream to watch our video broadcast and join us in the chat. You can also register for free on musicindustrycity.com to get updates from content both on and off of Clubhouse, both Music News Power Hour related and otherwise. Awesome information for your updates each day through musicindustrycity.com. For myself, Eli Window, and for our UK correspondent, Angela Randall, I want to thank you so much for being part of the conversation. And I want to ask you to join me in thanking our co-host, Peter Schwing. Peter, please tell us more about the content on Music Industry City.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll just start off by saying I'll stop playing devil's advocate now. I'll take off my devil's advocate hat.
Please don't stop. I love it.
Yeah, at least we aren't talking.
Only if you promise to play a little more Careless Whisper.
And what we're doing is closing up early. I apologize about this. I have some technical stuff going on here, so I apologize about some of that. We are going to be back tomorrow in full force, and we also just launched a daily news brief on the podcast. So this, if you missed the news, then you can tune into the podcast. What we do on the podcast on Monday through Friday will be around 8 a.m. We'll roll out about 8 a.m. Eastern time. It's more artist centric. It talks about some tours. It talks about new releases, also music industry, the musical chairs, a few other things that we also might cover here. So we might tease an article saying, hey, this is really important, so we're going to talk about it. So if you want to check that out, it's these bite-sized nuggets. They're 2 to 3 minutes long, and it's at the Music Industry City podcast. You can actually go to musicindustrycity.com and listen to it there. We also put up a blog post each day that just quickly goes through with all the links to the articles. You can find it on your preferred podcast player, and also in the show notes there at the very top there is a link in the show notes that can take you to your preferred podcast player. So if you'd like to check that out, enjoy, you can have that with your morning cup of tea, cup of coffee, or whatever your preferred breakfast treat is. And with that being said, thank you everybody for tuning in, and thank you to Eli and Angela, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.
Cheerio. Have a great day, everybody. It's great to see you. Have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday.